All right, guys, we'll let the last couple of people get settled in here, but we have a lovely full house on this beautiful Friday afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for coming in to spend some time with us. So it's interesting because when people sign up for this workshop, we ask them what their main concern is. And we have people here today that are here proactively. They haven't had a fall yet. They've just noticed that they're a little more unsteady, or they're concerned, or they've had a friend or a family member suffer a severe fall and they don't want to fall down that same pathway. On the other end, I have people in this room who have had multiple falls in the past couple of months or years. And so we're already experiencing that. So we've got our people who are trying to prevent it, people halfway along that journey, and then people who have had some major falls. So what I can say is that no matter where you are in that fall journey, you will get some really great information today, and hopefully more than anything else, some hope that there is something that you can do to improve your balance, decrease falls, and live a better quality of life. So for those of you who I haven't met yet, my name is Dr. Beth. I am the owner here at HouseFit. And I love this place so much. It is my happy place. We are the only geriatric specific clinic in all of St. Louis. And so we are really here to serve the aging population. And those are my daughters, Harriet and Estelle. And for the 100th day of school, they are asked to dress up like 100-year-olds. So they wanted gray hair, and graying hair is a normal part of the aging process. They wanted to wear glasses, and yes, changes in our vision are a normal part of the aging process. They wanted to wear outfits that made them feel like grannies, and they chose a dress with cardigan and pearls, very classy. And then they wanted hot pink lipstick because they wanted to be cool grannies, which I very much appreciated. But my oldest daughter, Estelle, asked if she could have a cane to complete her outfit. And that broke my heart. Because it told me that she already had all of these negative beliefs about what aging looked like. And the reason I share this story is I think a lot of people believe losing your balance and falling are a normal part of the aging process. And while they are more common the older you get, it is not a normal part of aging, which is good news. That means there's things that you can do to improve your balance, okay? So, background, we do know that falling is a major concern for our aging adults. 1 out of 3 people age 65 and older will have a fall this year. And once you hit 80, it's 1 out of 2. So we expect 50% of people age 80 and older to fall this year. And we actually think that these numbers are underreported because people do not get excited to share the good news that they had a fall. You don't want to tell, right? You don't want to tell your doctor, your daughter. You don't want to tell your spouse. Okay, it's kind of a dirty little secret that we don't want to talk about. The problem is once you have a fall, your chances of falling again are very high. So 2 out of every 3 people that fall will fall again in the next 6 months. So kind of once you've crossed that line in the sand, you are high risk for additional falls. In addition, when people tell their doctor about it, they really don't always get the best advice. They get, here's a cane, here's a walker, give up the keys to the car, right? And none of us want those things. The other thing is once you have a fall, it can really have a significant impact on your quality of life. We know that older adults who fall are more likely to have to move into long-term care, so the nursing home or assisted living. And we also know that 30% of falls result in a severe injury. So that could be a head trauma, that could be a broken bone, and those injuries don't always have good outcomes. Missouri is unfortunately ranked number 4. So we have the 4th highest rate of death related to falls. That's not a list we want to be at the top of, right? We also know that some of these injuries do not have good outcomes. The number 1 injury that we worry about is a hip fracture. So people who fall and break their hip, 20% do not survive the first year. It's 1 out of every 5. They die from complications of that fall. Of the people that do survive, another 25% never leave the nursing home because they've lost their mobility and independence. We know that falls can also cost a lot. They're very expensive. So the average cost of a fall in the United States is $35,000. That does not account for the emotional cost. We have people who don't want to go to the boat anymore. Like they have a dock and they don't want to walk out. They give up their season tickets to the Cardinals. They don't want to fly on a plane to go to a loved one's wedding or a graduation because the balance is, they don't feel like they can do it anymore. So there's a financial cost, but there's also an emotional cost when you start to lose your balance and fall. Your world starts to become a little bit smaller. The problem that I see is many people consider falls, including healthcare providers. Okay, they think it's a normal part of the aging process, and it is not. So we're going to talk about this today and show you some exercises, but this belief is really rooted in ageism. The belief that older adults are less worthy, that you're going to become debilitated, that your brain doesn't work as well, that you're feeble-minded, that you're going to become weak, that it's normal to become reliant on others. And that's just not true. So we'll show you some great stuff today. So the good news is that even though falls are more common as you age, it's not a normal part of the aging process. Guess what, guys? You're just out of shape. You are. She knew that. So there are specific exercise programs that can make you feel steady on your feet again, that can improve your reaction time so that you're more likely to catch yourself. We actually work with our seniors and we teach them how to break a fall. So we teach safe landing techniques because you can't avoid every fall. But if you can learn how to fall without injury, that's a win. And we absolutely make sure that we can get up off of the floor after a fall. And we'll talk about why that's so important. So I've talked to a couple of you here and you've had therapy for balance before and it didn't really work, right? That's probably because they didn't look at the full fall cycle. So we break the falling into 4 different phases. The first one is pre-fall. So this is where you're just starting to feel a little bit more unsteady, on uneven ground, going up and down a curb without being able to hold on. You've maybe had a fall or you're reaching for the walls to walk the furniture, okay? So pre-fall is you haven't had a fall yet. Your balance just isn't as good as it used to be and you're more aware, okay? Near fall, your balance has continued to worsen, but you're able to catch yourself. You're able to reach for a wall, take a big step. You're able to recover that loss of balance. Then it gets worse. You lose your balance, your reflexes aren't strong enough, now you experience a fall. This is where we want to teach seniors how to land safely. Okay, how to avoid injury with that fall. It doesn't mean you wouldn't get a bump or a bruise or be sore, but if we can avoid the head injury, the fractures, that's what we're looking for. And then the completed fall is, can you get up off of the floor after a fall without the assistance of another person? You can use a chair, a couch, a table. You can look like a beached whale. That's what somebody told me. They're like, Beth, I can do it, but it isn't pretty. Okay? It doesn't have to be pretty. I just want to know that you can do it. Okay? So we'll talk about each of these phases a little bit more and what exercise to do that looks like. So phase 1 is this pre-fall. This is what typical physical therapy does really, really well. We strengthen your muscles and we do some balance exercises. Okay? Here we offer it in our one-on-one therapy sessions as well as some of our fitness classes. So we're going to do some exercise together. So you guys all have a handout. I'm going to invite anybody that wants to stand behind their chair, and we're going to do some exercise together. You do not have to participate if you just want to watch. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to be good for the camera too. Okay, here we go. So we're going to do some strengthening exercises together. Now, because they're strengthening exercises, you can absolutely hold on with 2 hands. But what we find is most often people have balance issues because they're really weak in the hips, ankles, and knees. So to do this, we're going to hold on. We're going to do our right leg so that we do not kick our neighbors. Okay, everybody knows they're right. So the first exercise is called side hip because it strengthens the side of the hip. We're going to do a nice kick out to the side, but here's the thing, we're going to go down slow. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go out to the side, down, 2, 3, and out, down, 2, 3, and out, down, 2, that's 4, and out, down, 2, 5, out, down, 2, 6, out, down, 2, 7, out, down, 2, 8, out, down, 2, 9, out, down, 2, and 10. Good. Did you guys feel that? I felt it more in the leg I was standing on than the leg I was moving. Okay. Now, if you do this, I did 10 of them, Beth. You're not going to feel that at all. It's all about moving slowly and intentionally, not to only build up this leg, but to build up this leg. Okay? So the rule of thumb is you would do 10 on one leg, 10 on the other, rest, 10 more on each. And then as soon as that feels easy, you add weight. So we typically start people with 2 to 3 pounds. And this is a protocol that was developed in New Zealand. They followed women in their 80s that had a history of a previous fall for a year. And they said, ladies, as soon as this feels easy, add a pound. After a year, how much weight do you think they had on their ankles? 10. 14. So, women in their 80s with a history of a previous fall, 14 pounds. Now, if you could do this with 14 pounds with ease, do you think your legs would be stronger?
No.
Do you think it would be easier to go up and down stairs? Easier to get in and out of a chair? Up and down from the floor? Yes.
If you have knee issues.
Yeah, and so the question is, well, how do I stand if I have knee issues? We don't want it locked out, just a gentle, soft knee, straight knee. And again, we do this in our one-on-one sessions, so we can tweak it for anybody that has hip, back, knee issues. We do it in our classes, and same thing, because all of our classes are taught by our PTs. So I wouldn't want a thrown back knee, like a fully hyperextended knee. You want it kind of just unlocked to support that weight. Okay, so that's one of the exercise. The next one is for the back of the knee, the hamstrings. So we're going to still do our right leg, and we're going to bend the knee, bring the heel up toward the butt, and down. 1, 2, 3. Try to make sure your foot gets all the way flat on the ground. Bring it all the way up, down, 2, 3, and up, down, 2, 3, up, down, 2, 4, up, down, 2, 5, up, down, 2, 6, up, down, 2, 7, up, down, 2, 8, up, down, 2, 9, and up, down, 2, 10. So again, even without the weight, you can probably already start to feel you're using those muscles, which is fantastic. Now we're going to look at the ankles. So for this one, we're going to go all the way up on our tiptoes, and we're just going to go down slow. Down, 2, 3. Raise all the way up. Down, 2, 3. And up. Down, 2, 3. And up. Down, 2, 4. And up. Down, 2, 5. And up. Down, 2, 6. Up. Down, 2, 7. Up. Down, 2, 8. Up. Down, 2, 9. Up. Down, 2, 10. You guys all look fantastic, by the way. We were in such unison. Beautiful. All right. The last strength exercise we're going to go today is a mini squat. So again, if you have hip or knee issues, listen to your body today. When we do our one-on-one sessions, we're able to make a lot of modifications and tweaks. But the one in general I'll say is you don't want to be narrow, you want to be wide, okay? And you even want to turn your toes out a little bit. That just kind of puts your hips and knees in better alignment. If you're here, you can do this, but that puts a lot more stress on everything. So a little bit wide, toes out a little bit. And again, we're going to hold on for support. So with this one, we're going to go down slow. So we're going to go down, 2, 3, with a quicker up. Okay, so this is, I'm not going to plop on the chair, and up. Down, 2, 3, and up. And this one, you don't have to go down very, very far to be effective. But as you get stronger, you can challenge yourself to go down further. Again, this is the one we probably have to make the most modifications on for pain issues. Okay, so just listen to your body today. So snap, crackle, pops I'm hearing. But let's just do 2 more because I lost count. 1 more. Beautiful. Okay, everybody, you can return to your seats. You did fantastic. So, with the first 3 that we did, it's easy to increase ankle weight to make the exercise harder. With this last one, you can't do that. So what we do is we go from mini squats to up and down from the chair. So if you need your arms to start, we start doing chair 10 in a row, up and down with the arms. Then when you get stronger, we do no arms. Then when you get stronger, we hand you a weight. Okay? In our balance class that we have people holding 20-pound weights up and down from the chair for 2 minutes. And our youngsters are in their 60s. We asked what age. Youngsters are in their 60s. We have people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. We have a couple in their 90s that are here 4 days a week exercising with us. They're getting up and down from the floor. They're doing everything we can throw at them. It's fantastic.
80s and 90s?
Yes. So the question is it safe to do that much weight in your 80s and 90s? Yes. Now, like anybody, we don't start you there, but we build you up week after week. So we keep track in our therapy sessions. Even in our classes, we'll write down Chuck's seat. He needs this much weight for this exercise, this much weight for this exercise, and then we'll say, hey, who's been at the same weight for the last 2 to 3 weeks? Who's ready for more? And we write it, and then we set it up for you next time. Another question.
You talk about weight today. Put weights on your feet, on your ankle, like.
Yeah, so the question is, where do you put the weights? We get adjustable ankle weights that just Velcro right around your ankle.
Did you walk? If you go for a walk, should you walk in them too or not?
The question is, should I walk with weights? I don't recommend it. That's to get the strengthening you really need, you should only be able to lift the weight 8 to 10 times. If you can walk a half a mile with it, that's not building true muscle strength. It might be burning some more calories, but it's not the same type of strengthening that you need to really improve your balance. Okay? So there's 2 other exercises on your handouts. I'll just demonstrate them. So the first one I think is heel toe walking. So again, this is an exercise we have a lot of folks do. Hold onto a countertop, a railing, a wall, and you might need to lift down when you start to figure out where those feet are. Okay? But you'll start walking heel to toe, holding on. When you get better, you can lift that hand. Then if you're really looking for a challenge, you can walk backwards heel to toe or forwards with your eyes closed. Okay? And then the last one is standing on one leg. So how long do you think you should be able to stand on one leg without holding on to anything? I love Chuck. Chuck says a couple of minutes. So the cutoff in the geriatric world is 20 seconds. So if you are unable to cross your arms and stand with control for 20 seconds, we know that you've got a lot of weakness going on in these hip muscles. And if it's less than 5 seconds, you're at risk for a fall. Okay? So I see a lot of uh-ohs. So how do you do that? We start building it up. So we actually have our folks start with 2 hands and stand on one leg. We have you do this for a minute. Now, a lot of people we work with, they'll start to get the shakes after 20 to 30 seconds because there's so much weakness going on. So you start here, 2 hands, Think about good tall posture. Think about squeezing and activating that butt muscle, because that's what we're trying to strengthen. When you can get up to a minute on each leg and it feels easy, then you go down to one hand. When you can build up to a full minute 3 times on each leg, that's when we start taking the hands away. But if you go straight to trying to stand without holding on, this is all you're going to do, because you don't have the strength and the stability through your hips and pelvis to allow you to do that. So we build it up by doing that. And all of those are written down for you. If you're watching online, we'll attach this to the email that we send out with the recording so that you can have all of these instructions as well. Okay, so nothing too crazy, okay, with that level. But you got to be consistent with it. And the biggest thing is slow and steady, as well as increasing the weight. Okay. So I'm going to share my slides again. All right. I did it, guys. So those are the exercises we just did. All right. Let's get next slide. Nope. Okay, so now phase 2. So again, typical therapy, pretty much anywhere you go, will do a pretty good job of that. What they don't do is they don't cover these next phases really well. So near fall, this is the phase where you're starting to lose your balance enough to where you need to try to catch yourself. You need to use that balance reflex. And when you lose your balance, you don't have time to think about it. You either fall or you don't. I know last winter I walked behind my minivan to put something in the trunk and all the ice hadn't melted off and I was on the ground before I knew it, right? And then I looked around to see if any of my neighbors saw. They didn't. They didn't catch me. But there's no time to think about it. So it's, can you automatically use that reflex? Now, your balance reflexes do slow down as you get older. But it's not because you turned 75 or 80, it's because you haven't used them and they're rusty and dusty, okay? These reflexes are set pathways from our brain to our muscles, and they retrain very quickly. But the only way we can train them is by pushing you off balance, okay? So to train the balance reflexes, we do what's called push training or perturbation training. We push you off balance on purpose to give you the opportunity to practice catching yourself. Now, as you can imagine, I'm going to be limited with how aggressively I can push somebody, because then I also have to guarantee that I'm going to catch you if you don't catch yourself. So this is what traditional push training looks like in therapy. So that's Jackie. I think she's 90. You can see she's standing on some blue foam. It's even harder for her to keep her balance. And I'm going to push her forward, backward, sideways. And she's going to work pretty hard to keep her balance. Now, while that's nice push training, it feels slow motion. It's not real life speeds. I can tell you when I fell on the ice, I didn't even know it was coming. I was just on the ground. Okay? So the good news is we now have technology to replicate real world slips and trips here in the clinic. It's called the Active Step, and the initial research about it said it was like a vaccine against falls, and it lasted for about 6 months. So just like you go to your dentist every 6 months to get your teeth cleaned, we recommend Active Step training every 6 months to keep your balance reflexes tuned up. So what is it? It's the machine on the other end of the gym if you're here, and this is a picture of it for those of you who are online. So we put you into a safety harness and we attach you to an overhead arch over a very fast treadmill. And it's like we're pulling the rug out from underneath you. We can push you off balance forwards, backwards, and sideways. And we have it 10 different levels or speeds. So we start slow and we build you up. So this is a short video of one of our ladies, Nancy. She has Parkinson's and falls multiple times a day. And you're going to see that her feet aren't working fast enough. They go right out from underneath her. And that safety harness is doing all the work of catching her. In a single session, we will trip somebody 50 to 60 times. So it is a workout. But you'll see that her body figures out how to move her feet big enough and fast enough so that she's able to catch herself. Now, we always like to practice sideways pushes. as I talked about, hip fractures have one of the worst outcomes of a fall. 95% of hip fractures come from falling sideways and landing on your hip. So this reflex tends to worsen quicker than forward and backward. Forward and backward stays intact much longer. And you'll see she took a lot longer to get it, but she got it. And that was all within a single session. Okay. We can also do some walking protocols. This is one of our youngsters, Mary. She's 70. And she's avid hiker. She kayaks, she cycles. She's just doing this proactively. So we figured out how fast she could walk, how fast we could push her. And then we put her into our tripping protocol, and I jump every time because it is so real life. Like I want to go catch her. But she did a great job on her own. Okay. Fall landing. So again, you lose your balance reflex is not fast enough, and you end up experiencing a fall. We want to make sure that you feel confident, knowing how to fall, how to move your body, how to twist and turn. I mean, if you see volleyball players, gymnasts, martial artists, these downhill skiers, they know how to fall. Okay? So we've taken principles, a lot of them from the martial arts, and applied them to our older adults to figure out how we can best teach you guys how to do these things. We do these in our one-on-one sessions, and we also do these in some of our exercise classes. So this is a video of some of our folks when we first rolled this out. So we start low to the ground. We use the nice crash pads because falling multiple times is a little achy, right? We teach forward, sideways, and backwards. We start from low to the ground and we work up to taller. And then we give a lot of feedback. Here's our backwards falls. So again, starting low and slow. We start low to the ground, slow speed. As you get better and get confidence, then we build up the height and the speed. And we have people that do this with us in our one-on-one sessions. I remember one lady's like, Beth, I fell in the parking lot yesterday and I was so proud. I'm like, oh, okay. Do you want to tell me more about that? She's like, I knew what to do. She's like, and instead of falling so hard and hitting the back of my head, I just sat down on the ground. She's like, so I landed on my butt and I didn't hit my head for the first time. So again, that's a win. And that's why we love this. So we've added this in. And again, we're the only clinic in the area doing this safe landing training. And then completed fall, we absolutely want to make sure that you know how to get off of the floor, that you have a strategy, okay? And that you feel comfortable being on the floor. A lot of times I'll say, when's the last time you were on the floor? I get on purpose, or I'll get 10 plus years. So a lot of people actually can get up and down from the ground. They just haven't tried in so long. They forgot. They don't have the confidence in themselves to do it. And if you can't do it without assistance of another person, then we figure out, is it that you're not flexible enough, not strong enough, that you don't have the right strategy, and we can problem solve through that and get you there. But the reason why we work on getting up and down from the floor with just about every person we work with is because of this. I read a study about 4 years ago that talked about the long lie. So in the medical world, the long lie is considered to be any fall that you cannot get up off of the floor for more than 1 hour. Okay, so that's the criteria. And I think we've all heard of somebody who's had that fall and been trapped on the floor overnight, for a day, for a couple of hours, and the recovery is not good. Okay, so the longer you're on the floor after a fall, the more complicated your recovery will be. So if you're trapped on the floor for more than an hour, this is the domino effect. This is the cascade that is triggered. You're at risk for pressure ulcers, pneumonia, rhabdomyolysis, which is actually your skeletal muscle starts to break down. The problem is it creates a lot of nasty waste products that attack your kidneys and your liver. Hypothermia, dehydration, incontinence, fear of falling, and death. So the statistic that they did, they followed people living in a senior living community, right? Everybody has those call-outs, so they can monitor who falls, and they check in on people daily. What they found is people who had a fall without injury was a large group of the people. So they had a fall. They didn't even hurt themselves. They just got trapped on the floor. Of those people, 50% died within 6 months from complications of being stuck on the floor. So I don't care if you look like a whale. I don't care if your knees are a little achy when we do it. I want you off of that floor. Okay? And this is why. Because the statistics show that if you lay on the floor and don't get up after a fall, it just creates a nasty storm of things that is really hard to recover from. Okay, so this is a class that we launched, and again, we do a lot of these exercises in our one-on-one sessions, as well as in our classes, but everybody in this class is in their 70s and 80s. Bev here, she's in the corner here, she had her knee replaced 12 weeks before joining class. So when people tell me that they can't kneel because of their arthritis, or because they can't kneel because they had their knee replaced, that's just false. It's not a gold standard. Like, you can do it. You just have to teach your body how to do it again. So it might take a couple of weeks to get you there, but our goal is to get you there. Okay. Once that knee replacement has healed, it is perfectly safe. You're not going to hurt the surgery. It may be uncomfortable until we adapt your body and get it stronger. Okay. So I gave you guys a lot of information today, but what I'm hoping more than anything is that you're going to realize that poor balance and falling are not a normal part of the aging process. You're just a little out of shape. Okay. And there are exercises that can help you feel steady on your feet. There are exercises that can make your balance recovery quicker. Okay. Making it less likely that you'll have a fall. That even if you do have a fall, like I did on the ice, you can learn how to protect your body. And the more you practice falling, the better you get at it and the more confident you are. And we absolutely want to make sure that you can get up and down from the floor, because we don't want that cascade of nasty things to start and have you have a hard time recovering from a fall. So for those of you who are new to HouseFit, a little bit about us is that we are a team of physical therapists dedicated to the health and wellness of the aging population. As I mentioned, we're the only geriatric specific clinic in all of St. Louis, and one of my passions is balance and fall prevention, which is why we have so many programs surrounding this one singular issue. So we do offer all of those services here in the gym. If you're not in the South County area and it's hard to get to us, we do also have a mobile team that goes out to the home, and they can do all 4 levels of that. We teach people to fall in the home, get up and down from the floor in the home. We can bring in the weights. We can do all of that in the house. The only thing we can't do is put you on the active step unless you come down here. Okay? But everything else we can do in the home. We offer classes here. So this is a video of our level 1 balance class. So the exercises we did today, all of those and more are in our balance class. You'll see every person in there has ankle weights on. Okay, they're doing the exact same exercises we just did, but somebody told me that they don't like to exercise after they graduate therapy. You know, they've been to therapy and then they graduate and they don't stick with it, so they need something long-term. This is for you. Okay, if you need a long-term solution, come to class. We mark your weights, we set up your chair, and we help you progress and hold you accountable. Okay, there's the weights. So you'll see the heavy medicine balls that some of these guys are picking up and down. And we do other balance challenges. So we do the standard strengthening, we do the balance challenges, we kind of fit everything into that class. All right, and then this is our advanced balance class. So this, we get to incorporate all 4 phases of the fall cycle. Okay. So level 1 is just mostly the strengthening and balance challenges, like phase 1, but here we're going to do a lot more higher level and challenging balance challenges. So we do some balance reactions. They're calling out random directions. They've got to react quickly to that to work on the balance reactions. We have people on soft and unstable surfaces. We have a couple different options for you. We do floor work. We do practice transitions, getting up and down from the floor, getting you more confident. And then we practice some of the falling techniques in class. So this is where we kind of cover all the bases. So if you are interested in figuring out what we could help you with. If you need classes, if you need one-on-one sessions, anything like that, we encourage everybody to start with a free consultation. What we do is we carve out 30 minutes for you to meet one-on-one with one of our physical therapists. Tell us what your concerns are, what's been going on with your balance and falls, and we will do some balance testing on you to figure out how good or not so good things might be. And then we can make a recommendation for one-on-one sessions, level 1 balance or advanced balance. We can really say this is where you belong and this is what you need to do to stay on top of the balance long term. We offer these free consultations here in the gym. We do also offer them in the home, so we can do them in both places. Actually, I think Erica has one booked right after this today, so we have another opening at 3:30. So this is Erica, one of our fabulous therapists. She's the team lead here in the gym. So after we wrap this up, we'll be around for some questions. If you guys have any questions that we need to answer, I think I've got a couple online that I'll try to grab before we wrap up too. But if somebody's interested in that free consultation and you want to stick around, we've got one at 3:30 today.
And cancellation.
Oh,
So another one at 3.
We can take another one at 3. So if somebody wants a free consultation, raise your hand and we'll take care of you today.
Yeah.
Erica and Tia both have openings. Other than that, you can head to the front desk and sign up for that free consultation. We'll get you in as fast as we can. But what I'm going to do now is open it for questions. Yes. The question is there more than one location of HouseFit? And there is not. We are the one and only. People ask me all the time when we're going to open another location, and we're just not there yet. But no, you would have to travel down here, or you could choose to have the in-home options. We do offer the level 1 balance class online. So really you would just need a set of ankle weights and maybe a dumbbell or two to hold yourself accountable to increasing your weight. But we do offer that class online. And so that is a way to participate in the class if you're not able to get down here on a regular basis. Good. What other questions? Yes, sir. Ron asked the all too beautiful insurance question. So that is a very great question. So physical therapy is a covered service by insurance. At HouseFit, we don't have any relationships with insurance. So we are completely an out-of-network clinic. We're making that change effective July 1st because the insurance has continued to cut our reimbursement year after year after year, and we would not be able to develop and deliver these programs if we continue to take insurance. So you can get therapy at a different clinic, and it probably will be covered by your insurance. If you choose to come with us, we are a fee-for-service clinic, and it would all be private pay. Okay, that's for the one-on-one therapy, and classes wouldn't be covered anyways because insurance doesn't cover wellness and prevention. Right, I know that would be the best way to spend their money, but they don't. So all of the services here at HouseFit would be a cash-based service. Good. What other questions do you have?
Get in front of something stabilized, like a chair or whatever, I find that then I can get up off the floor so much better that way. When I get on my hands and knees,
Yes.
hands and knees, get in front of something, hold on while you're. That's the way I've been able to do it. That's my experience.
Yeah, that's fantastic. He was just sharing his strategy for getting up and down from the ground. And the great thing is there's a couple different ways to do it. And so we're able to work with people to say, well, that didn't work. Let's try this way. Well, that didn't work either. And then we can work on either strengthening things that are weak or just using a different technique. But yes, the crawling and using a chair to kind of hoist yourself up is one of the most common ones.
Stop the way down, and I couldn't get up. I had my wife get a cell phone. I called the fire department. I said, I don't have a fire. It's this one.
Yeah.
So they came out.
Yeah.
He got me.
Yeah, and so actually, so he said that he couldn't get up one time. He called the Afton Fire Department and just asked for a lift. 50% of the fire department's calls are for lifts to pick people up off of the floor. So less, like half of their calls are just to pick people up. It's not all the fires and the exciting stuff. It's going in for medical issues and for lifts.
If they had to come out a third time that night, then they'd be obligated to call an ambulance and I'd be taken, I don't know, I went to the Mercy Hospital South, and they probably put me under observation or treat me some way.
Yeah.
But I said, I don't intend to.
Yeah, so I'm sure that well, that's good news. And I'm sure they have to have strict things in place because they do have frequent flyers that they know. They'll say, call Paul at the fire department. He'll come pick me up. So, all right, oh, yeah, Kenneth, you have a question? You're waving at me. Oh, you're on mute. You got to unmute yourself. Oh, I just see thank yous. You're welcome. All right, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the Zoom. If you had a question that we didn't answer, you're welcome, Cassandra. Thank you for joining today. Please email us or give us a call. We'll send out the recording very shortly so you can have all of this great information. And then Eric and I will stick around here for a couple of minutes to answer any other questions that you guys had for us today. All right. Thank you guys so much.